Hi, and welcome to this episode with the beautiful Heidi Trigar. Welcome, my love.
Thank you for having me.
So today we're really diving deep into Chakras Unlocked. So I'm really excited to talk about that. But before that, if you haven't gone to Heidi's class, she's one of our beautiful teachers at the Brighton Studio. Her classes really have an energetic focus, I would say, and you love bhakti, which is chanting, and you serenade all the yogis in Shavasana and before and after classes with the chanting. So do you want to talk a little bit more about your style of yoga, how long you've been teaching and what you're passionate about?
I would love to. So I love to infuse and weave energy into the practice of yoga asana. So on our mat, I really like to get into the spaces underneath the physical that are often unseen and sometimes not even known of until we connect more deeply to the energy within. And I like to do this with mantra and breathing practices, pranayama. I also really love weaving bhakti into it. And bhakti is a practice of yoga that's been infused into the physical recently, but it's been practiced for millennia by so many people over the world. And I love it so much because it's so accessible for everybody. And bhakti yoga weaves the different archetypes of yoga through deities, so that you might have heard of Shiva or Ganesha, and they are then connected as well through our body and through mantra and sound and energy and even breathing practices and all sorts of other things. And I love it so much. It's so amazing.
Yeah, it definitely takes you to a new depth in your classes, I feel. Like it's really, it goes beyond, like you said, beyond the physical.
Yeah, and the physical is so amazing because then that, for us, like our culture in the West, I think that's kind of like our gateway in. It's like our gateway drug is the body. And then beyond the body, then once you get beyond that, it's like there's this whole world underneath that is often unexplored. And I'm just right at the very, I've only explored the tiniest little amount, but I love it so much and I love sharing it.
That kind of dives deeper into what we're going to talk about today, which is, a lot of people say chakras. How do you pronounce it?
Instead of SH, it's ch, like you would say cheese, chakras. And the beautiful thing about the Sanskrit language is that it's vibrational. So every letter in the Sanskrit alphabet, there are 50, correspond to a particular petal on a lotus flower in a chakra. And to say the alphabet, to say a Sanskrit word, is to connect to that particular energy in a chakra, in a petal on a lotus flower. So from the base to the third eye, not including the 1,000-petaled lotus at the top, but from here to there, everything corresponds to a sound and an energy and a vibration. Sanskrit is vibrational. So chakra, to say it with the ch is actually really important.
Ch, like cheese.
Like cheese.
Ch, cheese. Got it.
You don't
Chakra.
say cheese. You say cheese.
I'm glad that we've clarified that. What are the chakras?
Chakra means wheel, and there are 7 main chakras within us that are invisible, but they're there. So we feel them on an energetic level. But we also feel them on a physical level and even beyond energy to the experiences of emotions and even thoughts. So the 7 main chakras within us begin at the base of the spine, and then there's one right at the bottom there, and that's the root chakra. And then we move up into the sacrum, the navel, the heart, which is our central energy line right here in the middle, and then the throat, third eye, and the crown. So they all have their own particular emotion connected to them, their own particular energy connected to them, part of the body. They all have their own sort of way of expressing both light and shadow as well. Yeah, so although we can't see them, like if you took an X-ray of them, they're not there physically, but they are there because you can feel it. For instance, like if you have a broken heart, you look inside and the heart is not broken, but it feels it, right? When you have a really intense breakup or something like that happens, or, you feel really sad, or you're going through grief from loss and you really feel it, but nothing's changed within you. It's still there.
And how do they relate to yoga?
So first of all, we need to preface this with yoga is everything. So if yoga is everything let's just say we come onto our mat, and at the beginning we sit down on the mat and close our eyes and we check in. So that whole checking in part and aspect of the practice really helps us to connect to what's happening inside and grounds us down to the earth, which starts really at the base of the spine, your legs, your feet, your heels, your toes, your ankles, and that all connects to Muladhara chakra, or our root chakra, as we would say in English. So your root is really effectively helping you to ground and earth. Have you heard of the earthing movement? Have you ever heard of that?
I have.
Yeah, there's a whole earthing movement. There's even like a documentary about it and everything like that. So amazing. And they talk about walking bare feet on the ground and all of that sort of stuff, which, I mean, we kind of know that it works, but they've actually done scientific research to prove that it works. Like if you walk bare feet, you're actually connecting earth energy up through the soles of the feet. And this is the essence of the root chakra, in that it helps to ground you and help you to feel supported and safe. And then with that safe container, so if you think about the root chakra being connected to the element of earth, first of all, you need to feel contained, or you need a container to put whatever you want into it. So if you have a big lake full of water and you need to take that water from there to there, you can't just pick it up in your hand. It'll all just drip out from your fingers. You need a container for it. So we build that container first from the ground up. So earthing is super important to contain whatever it is we would like to energetically within us. Otherwise, it's all just going to escape. So first of all, we start from the ground and we work up. And then from the root chakra, we move up into Svadhisthana, the sacral chakra, which is the element of water. And then with water, so sacral chakra is really beautiful in that it's our creative energy. It's connected to our reproductive organs and everything within us that is, I feel like saying, unique and new. So everything that's unique only to Nova, or everything that's unique only to me or you or anybody, is connected to the sacral chakra. No one else has it. No one else ever will have it. And it's only yours. Now, to deeply connect with that, we have to understand that, first of all, in life, we make mistakes. But the only way to grow and evolve really is to accept the mistakes and be kind of vulnerable, I guess, in them, and allow yourself to move through them without any judgment. And that's kind of the hard part. But this is, again, coming back to yoga. And I feel like our yoga practice helps to ground us and helps us to understand that the mistakes are so important to make. Like, we wouldn't be here without the mistakes we've made. And I've really come to a point in my life where I actually love it. Like, I look back on them and I used to cringe and think, no, I did that and I made that big mistake. But now I'm like, yay, I'd made that mistake, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be here. And I love it, and I love to own it. And that's really part of sacral chakra. It's that beautiful energy of really understanding and accepting you for who you are, stepping into your creative energy and essence and allowing it to just flow. But first of all, we need that container. So then there's that beautiful energy all held in with this container of safety and support, your own though, not from someone else, from you. And then within that, there's this beautiful watery flow of energy that can escape a little bit sometimes and do something strange and weird that is unique to only you. And because it's yours, it's fresh and new. And even if someone's done it before 100 years ago, it will be different because it's yours. And I love that about it. It's so amazing. And then we move up into the navel chakra, which is all about inner will, inner power, your inner strength and courage. And within this now, we can create boundaries around what we've done. So we have a container to hold, then we have the flow that's within it, and then we create the boundaries around what we've done and we hold that space. But within that, this is a really, really amazing and important piece of this puzzle, because within that, we need discipline. So you've started something and you've begun to create it, and then you start the process, but to continue the process on, you need discipline. And this is also a part of the practice, just like coming onto your mat every day or every week or however often you do. Just stepping onto your mat is Manipura chakra, or tapas, as we'd call it. The discipline to continue and to create something amazing and powerful and beautiful that's only yours. I love it so much. in our practice of asana, that might be maybe one of the harder kind of asana practices, in that it might be a lot of core, or it might be a lot of twisting, and it builds a lot of heat. And the practice is really, can you stay in the heat? Do you have the courage to stay in the heat so that the gifts can come up through the surface into you, and to, you know, like make whatever it is that you're creating come to fruition.
Very cool.
And then after that, we move up into the heart space, which is, I love this word. It's actually one of my favorite words to say, anahata, because it's, I don't know, it just rolls off my tongue so beautifully. Remembering too that Sanskrit is vibrational. So, you know, the words, that just the syllables and the placement of the tongue and everywhere, that everything that's happening in the mouth, anahata, it's like this beautiful, almost breathy word. And anahata, or the heart chakra, is associated with the element of air. So it makes kind of sense that it just feels so breathy and beautiful. And the word actually means unbeaten. So it's like the preservation of both the beginning to the end of everything. And then there's another beat, and then there's another beat. But then between the beats is this moment of almost like stillness. And that's where anahata is. It's like that moment right in between the beginning and the end of the beat, and you just preserve that space and just kind of rest in it, like the spaces between the breath, or the space at the beginning of the inhale, space between the beginning of the inhale and the end of the inhale, that beautiful space of just continuous movement. It's like the preservation of moving up and in. Anahata begins right in the center of your chest, lower than the heart organ, and in the middle. And right in the middle, there is a cave called Hridaya, and that is the heart cave. And within this heart cave, it's like this dark space ready to be awakened. And the whole heart chakra, is the whole chest, the front, the sides and the back, the shoulders, your arms, all the way down to the tips of the fingers and the thumbs. That whole space is your heart space, your energetic heart space. And it's the center of you, actually. It's your energetic center of your being. It's your heart. And, you know, like people talk with their hands like I do, and people talk with
I do that.
Yeah. And it just kind of like the movement that you have in your hands, and the way you move in your mudra, even like the way you hold yourself when you're speaking, is all your heart. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Love, compassion, kindness, empathy, all those beautiful things. And remembering that there's always a shadow to it. So we can get possessive and jealous in the space of the heart. And that's not lovely. I've been guilty of those things.
Haven't we all?
Yeah.
Yes.
Heart
open,
heart
closed.
Yeah. Heart open, heart closed. Yeah. And like that feeling of like being really closed in the heart, like you've got all these boundaries and barriers around you. And it's really beautiful to have, again, a container that you feel safe in. So if we're in asana and there was a heart opening or a heart strengthening practice, you want to have both. You want to have really strong arms, like doing chaturangas, you need to have really, really strong arms as well as core and the other things. But you need to have a nice hasta bandha, your hand locked to the earth needs to be really strong. And then, you know, the placement of your elbows and all of the muscles wrapping around the bones and your shoulders, and everything's working in your heart to strengthen that space, so that then you can feel safe to open it up. And then throat, Vishuddha, is the way we express those things. So I feel like Vishuddha, I love it because we can really unlock that space with mantra and the way we speak our truth. And that just comes all the way back down to feeling safe within yourself and building a really strong, solid foundation in your root, so that you feel like you can make mistakes and feel like, you know, you can move to the very edges of your boundaries, and maybe even sometimes take yourself beyond the edges of the boundaries and explore those spaces, knowing that you can always come back in as well again at any time. And then when you move up into your heart, then you feel like there's this beautiful openness that you can express it through love and empathy and understanding through other people's experiences as well. And then you get to express it in your own truth, use your own voice. And I think that for me, and I like, because I have a really long story about my throat chakra being blocked for so many years and for so long. And since I've shared that, so many other people have come and said the same thing, like just simple things like, oh, when I was when I was a teenager in the school choir, the teacher said I couldn't sing, so I've never sung before. I mean, I've heard so many people tell me that story, like so many school choir stories about their throat chakra. And then suddenly they come to yoga, and this is what happened to me too. I came to yoga and there was kirtan at an ashram one New Year's Eve, and I just started singing, and it was like unlocking my throat chakra. It was literally unlocking the energy that was within there that had been dormant for so long because I suppressed it. And then coming back into it and actually just feeling free to use my voice without it needing to be like anything. So I didn't need to sound like, I don't need to sound like Beyonce or anything. It's like not about the performance of it, but it's more about the way that it expresses through me for the benefit of all beings. It's not like, you know, we're all the same, really. It is like we're the same. It's not like I'm different to you, and it doesn't matter how it sounds. And that was an awakening for me, actually. That was a big awakening.
100%. It's like it's not how it sounds, it's how it makes you feel.
Yes, I love that. And it's so true. I think the expressive part of the practice really is really super important. And then your third eye is also that space where we close down your eyes so that we can turn inward and actually see what it is for what it is, instead of for the external, but like turning inward and really sensing everything that's happening beyond the external, which is hard because from the moment you wake up and you open your eyes to the moment you go to bed and close your eyes, there's so much around us to be overstimulated by. And it's so easy, like phones and technology and just like driving in the car or going to the supermarket or whatever it is, there's so much overstimulation from there. But to turn inward, and I think this is such an important part of our meditation practice, is that we're actually, it's almost like your meditation practice is downloading the information that you need on a more spiritual level without the external to disrupt it. And although the external will, and that is the practice, noticing when the external comes back in and then tapping back into whatever your mantra is or whatever you're concentrating on or whatever your meditation anchor is, and then noticing that again, and then just keep continuously tapping in and tapping in and tapping in. And the great thing about stepping onto your mat is because it is so meditative, just the practice of yoga in our body, it actually does help us. Like, it's so beautiful just to close your eyes in child's pose or close your eyes in down dog just for a moment and really just reconnect to what's going on inside without anyone else's input, without the teacher even, without the person on the mat next to you or anyone else, but just really just reconnect back to where you're at right now in this moment. And then the 1,000-petaled lotus. So the 1,000-petaled lotus is beyond every state, and it goes to that space to enlightenment, which is, although there is no goal of yoga, eventually that's where we go, and we practice yoga so that the gateways open to that space more freely and with more consciousness. And then to get to that space is to really have pure conscious awareness, or if you would like to call it Shiva consciousness, which is the way I like to describe it.
I loved what you said right at the beginning with when you step onto your yoga mat, you almost close your eyes and you have that moment of checking in, right? Like sitting with your straight spine in stillness and just seeing where it feels blocked.
Yeah.
And as you were going through the chakras, I was just thinking like of contraction and expansion of each one.
Yeah.
And what comes up in life, right? Not just in the yoga practice, because even though it has a meditative element, the asana practice can be quite strenuous and, demanding on the body. So I guess you can feel that on the yoga mat, but if you don't practice asana, you can feel that off the yoga mat. So how do you feel the chakras align to life off the yoga mat?
I think, first of all, you've got to check in and know what they are. And then as soon as you know what they are, and I think that's where the practice of yoga helps, because then once we know what they are and what it feels like in the body, in the mind, in the spirit, emotionally, physically, mentally, then you can just kind of like start to notice that little things change and shift. Like you can feel your heart chakra when you start to notice that you're more empathetic or compassionate toward, people that you don't know, or people that are activating things within you that might be a little bit uncomfortable, for instance. Or you feel like your sacral chakra really moving freely and through you and fluidly when your creative juices are sort of open and things just start coming to you. But not only that, not only like the spark of awareness or the spark of creativity, but following through with it. And that's when you can really tell that it's moving through you. So whether you think you're an artist or not, we've all got creativity in us. Whether you think you've got, no creativity in you at all, let me tell you, you do. And even if it's tiny, even if you think it's small, you'd be surprised how huge it is, because we've all got these aspects and these elements within us. And I think this is like the amount of suppression that they've been, because if you think about prana, which is a Sanskrit word that means energy, basically, prana is always there, but it just lies dormant until we become aware of it. So when we're conscious of prana, and like you can use your breath to move prana through you, or you can, just with your awareness move prana through you. Breath is really great because you can move it in, out, up, down, around. You can consciously find stillness with prana. But it's the same with chakra. So if you're aware that through movement and your conscious awareness, you can shift the energy and the prana within you, then it's kind of like an awakening of the dormant energy.
Powerful.
So powerful.
So if somebody's listening to this and they're like, I love this, but I still need more information. Do you have any resources or directions to point anyone in that want to know more?
Yeah, I'd really highly recommend Caroline Meese, Anatomy of the Spirit. I think it's a really great book because she gives you little practices to do and little journaling prompts and stuff like that. And it's just kind of like clear and concise, one chapter for each chakra. Really beautiful.
We'll add that to the show notes. Thank you so much for talking all things chakras.
You're welcome.
Not chakra. Big lesson from today. Thank you so much, my love.
Thank you, beautiful. So lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.